Greetings, royal queens and kings. It's your host, Queen Tulsa, and welcome back to the Queen Tulsa Show. On today, we have some heartbreaking news. And before we just dive into it, let's go ahead and give a moment of silence to those that have lost their lives in this tragedy. All right, we're going to start with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. All right. YouTube subscriber son deletes both parents over mental health crisis. The shocking truth. And a shocking incident that has left the community reeling. A 14-year-old boy named Trevor Lee has been charged with the tragic shooting of his parents in Clay County, Florida on August the 4th. Shortly after midnight, Lee called 911 to confess to the crime and indicated that he was waiting at a nearby church for law enforcement to arrive. During the call, he expressed remorse and requested to pray, highlighting the emotional turmoil surrounding this heartbreaking event. Join us as we delve into the details of this case, the response from local authorities, and the broader implications for mental health and youth violence. Stay tuned for updates and insights. I first want to say this to all the parents out there, to all the aunts, to all the uncles, to everybody that's working within the community to help our younger generation out. We definitely have to pay attention to our mental health, but we also have to pay attention to our younger generation's mental health. We have to make comfortable and safe spaces for our children to be vulnerable with us. And one thing about being a parent is, we think we know it all, when it comes to our children. And sometimes, there could be some things that we kind of miss. So going into this new year, going into this new day, let's pay attention to our children a little bit more closer as far as mental health, as we've been seeing like viral stories of individuals that are out here committing heinous crimes. And a lot of it, and don't quote me on this, but majority of it is mental health, you know? So prayers up to that family. I do want to share this article with you. I'll go ahead and read it. So this article says Florida teen shoots, kills parents before calling 911. Police say a Florida teen shot and killed his parents before walking to a nearby church to turn himself in, according to police on Monday, August the 4th. Clay County Sheriff Michelle Cook said in a press conference that 14-year-old Trevor Lee called 911 shortly after midnight, confessed to what he had done, and said he was waiting at a church for the police. In a phone call audio obtained by a news source, Lee is heard telling the operator who he allegedly did and his location before saying, I need to pray. The sheriff office found him at the church after discovering his parents. 44-year-old David K. Lee. Okay, give us a moment. So David K. Lee is whom they found, and 45-year-old Brandy L. Smith, dead at their home. According to Cook, the shooting resulted from a domestic argument the night before, and the firearm is believed to have been his parents'. The gun was recovered at the home where no one else was present. Authorities are investigating his mental health history and the family's background. Loved me like a son. Friends and family of the deceased couple said they were selfless and caring people before their death. They were probably the best or one of the best families I knew. Family friend Kyrie Beeman told a local news station. They were funny and they treated me very well. They told me all the time that they loved me like a son and they treated me as such. Now, no shade to the young man, but maybe they should have given their son a little bit more love. You know what I'm saying? Because let's talk about this. I've been around people that will sit up here and treat strangers better than they treat their own. But that's just my opinion. Let's go ahead and continue with the article. Beeman's mother said in a social media post that the dead parents were like a second family to her son. Thank you, Brandy Smith Lee, for loving my baby. Thank you, Dave. Thank David for being his second dad. She said, you will both be missed entirely. So my thing is A, mental health is real. And we're not just going to just sit here and just put it on our children. We have to take some accountability as parents, you all. We have to take some accountability as parents. We have to take a stance in the community. We have to, silence is violence. So if you're silent and you're not saying anything, you're just as complicit, right? And so that's why I'm taking a stance to do something different.
in my pockets, and I'm not like on the sidewalk. I'm like in the middle part.
You're going to be in the parking lot?
No, like in the middle part.
The middle part of what? Of the church?
I'm gonna pray first. I need to pray.
You need to pray?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before you start praying, tell me exactly where you're at.
If you're driving towards the church, like I'm right out in front of the church. There's a big claw.
Now, keep in mind, during this call, Trevor Lee has told the call taker that he shot and killed his parents. At one point during the call, the 14-year-old relies on that call taker for comfort.
Do you pray?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. I'll listen to you.
Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son. Okay, we've asked them not to point guns at you. Okay, they're going to be approaching you any minute.
Now, this 911 call taker, she's worried that this could be an ambush. Sheriff Michelle Cook, she's going to join me to discuss why very shortly. Detectives and crime scene techs spent the morning at the house processing the scene. And a friend of Trevor Lee's told local news outlets that they are stunned by what has happened. One of the friends said that Trevor's family was one of the nicest that he knew, and that David and Brandy treated him very well, and that they considered him like a son and treated him as such. That same friend told a local TV station that Trevor called him around midnight to say goodnight and told him he loved him. Records show that the Clay County Sheriff's Office has been called to the home 5 times since 2021. Once
Okay, so yes, that is that is true. Actually, I have those documents. Give me one moment, please. Okay, so yes, actually, so March the 24th of 2021, there was a phone call. Um, that was a suicide threat, and then in July 8th of 2022, there was a disturbance call. March 21st of 2024, there was one sick or a sick call. On April the 5th, 2024, another sick call. And August the 4th, 2025, person follow-up investigation. And then 8/4, the person was shot. All right, so let's go ahead and take a listen.
Well, a little bit of news to share. This is obviously extremely tragic when you have a 14-year-old that feels such a way that the only solution is to kill their parents. We are still very early in this investigation. The suspect has been very cooperative with our detectives, and walking us through his thought process, and all of that will be revealed in time. But through the investigative process, we did discover that he had called his sister prior to calling 911, and so that's some new information that we're going to have to track down. His sister is in the military, is stationed in another state, so we're going to have to get her in and interview her regarding this issue, this terrible, terrible incident.
Wow. That kind of blows my mind. I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, he's done something that he's admitted to, and he calls his older sister. Obviously, she's older. She's in the military. Do we have any idea kind of how much older? I mean, is she 18, 19? Yeah.
I don't know how old she is. I know she's old enough. Obviously she's stationed out in, I believe, in California. And after he committed this heinous, terrible crime, he called her first, what's interesting is after he shot his parents, he walked over a mile, about a mile and a half, to a church where, and we believe during that time that he was walking to the churches when he called her, and then when he got to the churches when he called our 911 communication center.
Do we have an idea? I mean, that's another kind of strange thing about this. Do we know why he decided to walk to the church? I mean, I can kind of connect a dot and think that he called his sister to tell her what he did, and she likely told him to call law enforcement. That's
Right.
where I'm going in my head with that. But why walk to the church?
Well, where a church, even though it was, probably close to a mile and a half walked, it was a pretty direct line. This church sits up on a major road and is easily discernible as you're walking. And I'm thinking like you, that his sister just encouraged him to call 911. And he probably felt that, walking up to the church and waiting for deputies to arrive was probably the safest place for him to do that.
So he walks to the church and he calls 911. Your call takers, or the 911 center call takers, I'm assuming, they're dispatching, they're trying to get information from him. They're talking to him. What can we glean from this whole thing about why this unfolded the way that it did?
Interestingly enough, we've had quite a few swatting calls in our community over the past couple of years. So initially, when the call came in, there was some concern with our communication center that this was going to be another swatting call. So our communication center kept him on the line for quite a while as deputies responded to the house and surrounded the house and then attempted to make contact with the occupants inside the house. And based upon the information that our communication center was being given, the deputies made the determination to go ahead and make entry into the home to do what we call a protective sweep, where the deputies found the two deceased parents. And then our comm center, our dispatcher did a fantastic job keeping him on the phone and talking to him. And within just a couple of minutes, we were able to put eyes on him at the church. And at this point, we don't know if he was still armed. So the deputy that had eyes on him waited for a couple of backup deputies to get there, and then they came up with a plan and took him into custody. He came into custody peacefully. He did not push back at all. He was in fact extremely cooperative with the deputies who took him into custody at the scene at the church, and then also with the detectives later on in the evening who were interviewing him.
What did he say happened as far as this, I guess maybe a disagreement with his parents? I mean, what do we know about that?
At this point, there's not a whole lot I can release regarding that because that, leads to a potential motive or potential defense for him. And, I will say that he was very candid about an argument that happened with his parents earlier in the evening. And he felt that, that this was his only way out, so to speak, was to take matters into his own hands. Very, very sad.
Wow. Do we have any inkling, or do you have an idea of how long it was between this argument and him actually shooting his parents? I mean, was there any cooling off period?
I don't have the exact time, but I would say a couple of hours of him contemplating on what his next steps would be, again, a heavy burden for a 14-year-old to be in that position and feel that that was his way of handling it, so to speak. But the argument had happened earlier in the evening, so probably at least a couple of hours before.
And he uses his own parents, their firearm to carry this crime out.
Right.
Y'all, it's a lot. It is a lot going on. When you talk about the history, I mean, now they're going to do a full-on investigation. They're going to see what were the outcomes if this individual was getting therapy or anything like that? Because it's like, what measures did y'all take after he had the suicide threat? So it seemed like he wanted to off himself. Per the records, it seemed like he wanted to off himself in like 2021. If you look at this right here, on March 24, 2021, it says suicide threat. So when you think about 2021, then the cops were called back in July of 2022. Then they gave it a break and then called back in March of 2024, April of 2024, April of 2025, and then here we are, August, with this whole tragedy. Do y'all see where I'm going with this? Like, I'm not trying to make nobody feel a certain type of way, but there was a pattern. And it seemed like when things were getting, they started and then they kind of chilled down. But I want to say, when I noticed that things were picking up, I would have reached out to a professional. Like, I would have reached out to a professional just in general, but I'm just saying in this situation, being that they didn't act accordingly. Because my thing is, there should have been some type of crisis plan, and that he should have been following. There should have been some type of crisis plan because he was saying that he just couldn't do it no more. But it seemed like this is the first time that he said he couldn't do it because it goes back to March 24th of 2021. Let's go in. Let's go in. It seemed like he needed some attention. It seemed like he needed some attention, and I would have done follow ups because one thing that you do not play with is suicide, right? Because nowadays, like in school and stuff, I mean, it's just different from how we grew up. Now there's camera phones. Now is you could be in a secret group and somebody talking about you, and you don't even know it because of the way the technology is now. And when we talk about two-parent homes, um, we still have to be alert and we still have to be on guard. This young man was in a two-parent home. We got to wake it up Wednesday and tell the truth. Some people, they may not like it. Oh, wrong time. Well, when is the right time? When is the right time to start talking about it? The next time somebody says, well, it ain't the right time, you ask them, well, when is the right time to talk about it? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, silence is violence. I want to thank you all so much for coming by and listening to me and hearing how I'm receiving this news. And going forward, we all need to be responsible. We need to definitely take care of our health, our mental health, and those that are around us. And once you do that and you get in the habit of therapy and things like that, it encourages, like, you would be surprised at the people that will see your change and they'll want to jump on that train with you and say, hey, you know what? I want to go to success as well. I want to go and elevate out of my old habits or my old ways. So, yeah, let's just be aware. All right. Have a great day on purpose, and I'll see you on the next live. And oh, the replay gang, thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe.